Good afternoon. My name is Agnieszka Beata Magdalena Rojek, and I'm using this opportunity to say something on the occasion of having listened to Condoleezza Rice's lecture, I guess, on the subject of democracy, specifically education, and addressing the issue of racism. I loved it. So I can understand the honors as a teacher. It was really good. However, there are obviously some points. Not that I question what has been said, even if I could get critical perhaps, but that would not be natural. Overall, there's a lot of content, and the content is valid. However, obviously, all those ideas need to be confronted with what we actually experience in life. And I must say that the problem of racism has taken a totally new face. Especially in the United States, where the power of public appeal by celebrities, most of them potential victims of racism, has overtaken all sorts of other appeals. I can say that it has become quite obvious the celebrities are a political power. So overall, yesterday I put down some notes, and these are some issues I want to pass. I was to start with an introduction of myself, but perhaps I will go through that first, and then perhaps I say a bit more. This is a transition period for me, let me just say that, before you classify me or qualify me wherever and however. I am moving from the west to the east, and my direction is Russia. So, Condoleezza Rice, I have put it down as racism and related issues. And I have three main themes, so to say: the American dream, individuality, and criminality. So, the American dream, as I have understood it, no matter where you come from, it matters where you're going, and it's beautiful. However, as a Pole, probably too, I do say that it does matter where you come from, and whether you consider it roots, which makes you quite fixed, or just heritage, it is totally valid. But there's another point: it does matter what you take with you wherever you're going, because supposing you will succeed and succeed greatly, many will have it. And this is a huge problem that needs to be addressed. I won't go into a detailed discussion of all possible consequences detrimental to life that can be brought about by the people coming from where they come from, and these are not nice environments. Let me just give these two anchors for thinking once you are at the level of the secretary. We have the law and we have the gang morality. And obviously it's totally unacceptable in any place of the world, especially the place that has the power of the United States, that the gang morality prevails over the law. So we need to decide, and I decide for the state of law. The United States, I loved the way a nation has been created somehow, even though it's not a nation. We don't really know what it is. However, it's beautiful because it really has it. I mean, this openness and this sense of, well, for goodness sake, I'm not an immigrant, because all of us are immigrants, actually. Whether we like to be the verb immigrants or not. But it's important to look at the United States, really, and it's important to change our thinking. My personal attitude overall to the well-being and spiritual ascent of humankind and the very survival of humankind is that morality matters. So what do we have in the very United States? We have Amerindians suppressed by the British Empire, for a start. Or perhaps we had something more, but we are not taught about it at schools. The main point is that the land actually belongs to the Amerindians. So we have Amerindians suppressed by the British Empire, and this is actually a new race taking over the land. And then we have the new race introducing another new race as slaves. What has come to be the United States, that is the people there, are becoming Americans. So you're not a slave anymore, you're an American. And you're not an invader anymore. Oh, actually, no. Actually, American. Well, you know, American. I mean, the Amerindians, then the people coming. So who is really the American? Anyway, we have Americans. And that, because, you know, I had a problem with it. So could you define the American nation and who are Americans? And from the perspective of Poland, obviously, there is the huge difference in the very perception of us. And perhaps it is so today. I will pick up on that. I will pick up that point later on, because Poland used to be a very tolerant country. I'm not sure. I have not done my history studies yet. I'm approaching the problem slowly, and it is a challenge in Poland, probably elsewhere as well, but I can only talk about Poland because this is what I really know, as much as I can know it. So, you know, to have the truth. And what we have had is the replacement of one indoctrination with another, when you start your education as the generation of 1974, which is the primary school at 1981 to 1989. So this is a very important time. So we have, what I wanted to say is that in the past Poland was tolerant, so Jews were Poles, weren't they? And there were other people too, Romanies and so on. Anyway, we have Americans, and then we have new races coming to become Americans, and this is the America nowadays. So Latinos, whoever has come, Poles actually, to they are Americans. And once I'm here, it makes me think of this special quality that might have been a power. That is actually this complex identity, which can be a huge advantage because the people actually have the surplus. So what we need to see concerning the America nowadays, now we have covered those points of the identity, is another identity point concerning, so what is the American soul? And we have the Amerindians to start with. But then we have the creation of the United States. And what has happened in the United States is a spiritual takeover from the godly first Americans by the current satanistic Americans. And the huge question is, what happens to the eye of providence? So, I have gone through my course in American literature. I do not remember too much. Excuse me, I cannot do anything about this, so you must be tolerant. But as Christians, we obviously know that people suffer from all sorts of imperfections. Health or damage can be among them, and the duty of the Christian is to be Christian. So, this is the key, the eye of providence. So are we still in the United States, or are we elsewhere? Or actually, are you? Now, this is a totally valid point. If you think of Russia of the 20th century and communism replacing a monarchy, all that has been going on, the transition from the godly to the satanistic is a break in history. And that's the question, are we dealing with a continuation of the people? Or have the former people been annihilated to vanish, leaving the place for the new? As humankind, we need to be up to the point of being the real leaders for humankind. And you can think of possible orders intuitively. And, with all those changes taking place as the new race is coming, what's been going on, how the race would behave, we can actually live this experience, an arrival of a new race. But, and this can be viewed, this is an idea. When I was putting it down, I was thinking of some possible extraterrestrials visiting the Earthians and thinking, well, the Earth is quite a good place, isn't it? So beautiful. Just like those people who arrived, saw those vast, beautiful lands and those Amerindians. And, I want this to be ours. So, as the Earthians, we need to think of that, and we need to remember what we have done. And this is where morality comes in. It comes in as the power of no power, because you have been immoral. So what's your problem? I mean, have we done anything different? Anyway, for humankind, it is important to check the running subconscious patterns. Because we might be taking part in creating the situations. And it is also important to check the level of hostility. So what do you actually do to your enemy? Supposing there is one. So, this is, oh, I hate you. So what? People have different tastes. And this, so what? What happens is totally important. So this is on the American dream. And I'm sorry to destroy that image. But if you are a leader for the future, you cannot take bits of a complex image and say, yeah, this is what it really is, this is our Whitney Houston. Because this is Agnieszka Beata Magdalena Rojek, the daughter of Barbara, the maiden name Steiniak. And I was lucky to get my university degree. But my mom was born in 1949, I think, after the Second World War. And she was not that lucky. And my grandma went through the shock of the war. And my mom truly believed in my better future, thanks to the very education. I'm a graduate of the Jagiellonian University, English Philology, 2001, the MA thesis, Life is a War as a Metaphor Defining the World of Othello, under the supervision of Professor Marta Gliwińska. So let's move on to the question of individuality and the scale of individual freedom. I believe that it starts at the level of philosophy, which is why I'm going to devote much of my time to philosophy. I hoped I would be doing it with the with the Pontifical University of John Paul II here in Krakow. I started my studies in philosophy in 2019, and I hoped to do it in Russian with the people from the former Russian republics. However, sadly enough, they got rid of me, and it's not that certain that it was the former Soviet Union that got rid of me. It's quite possible that it's the Free Republic of Poland and the Roman Catholic Church that got rid of me. Anyway, with the new philosophies coming into play, and the question of individuality has become totally valid. And it relates to psychology, of course, but it starts with philosophy, I believe. So whenever you have to do with types, you should have either the yellow or the red light coming up immediately. Obviously, each of us is an individual. And how free are we really and how much freedom are you ready to guarantee? So you see, if you look at the American policy, strategic policy, and the push for democracy, you should ask yourself this question, and you should ask yourself this question honestly, thinking of what you have become. Because, it is not about being rich or being powerful through your wonderful tanks or flying objects. If you think of humankind and humanity, and if you come with the power, you actually give a testimony of whom you really are. What I want to emphasize in the context of the philosophical changes taking place is the uniqueness of each human being, and it has to do with the unique parents. So this is a change we need to acknowledge. I mean, the issues have changed with the changes we have been living now, and suddenly it becomes totally important that a person has the right to have his or her mother and his or her father, which puts us probably at, if you think of an axis, and okay, so this is the production and this is the heritage. This person is here and now in the body, and this person has a history. How important is it that the person actually has the history? And what does the person have apart from having the history? Criminality. Or what crimes have you committed? Really? And how moral are you? So basically, we have been dealing with the spiritual, physical, and mental oppression. And mental oppression, mental harassment, mental cruelty actually is qualified as torture. And this is the lowest level, even if it can be so powerful in the destruction. So we have mental oppression, physical oppression, going up to the spiritual oppression, and actually crime. What are the consequences? You need to analyze all aspects. For example, irreversibility, actual pain, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, other. We need to open our cognitive capacity for a possibility of existences that we have never defined yet and have not discovered or pinpointed in any way, or have classified them under different headings or put them into different terms. Short term, long term, and eternal. So this is the level we are dealing with. If you are a superpower and if you push certain ideas and make the whole world act in agreement with them, your responsibility is eternal. And if this is an eternal crime, because the results of the very philosophy are eternal, be it someone who has never killed anyone has had to become a murderer due to the criminality and the level of pain. You have changed this person for eternity. That person would have never done it. So how criminal are you actually? If you think of the Bible, there is this point about someone demoralizing others, and if he does it with his hand, it's better if his hand is cut off, because doing it to someone is so bad, so evil. And you need to decide about this identity, and you also need to have some imagination. If you really create the evil, because it gives you some sense of power, open your imagination and view it as unlimited. So what do you end up with? Where are you going? So the three dimensions of the USA that come to my mind off the top of my head as first. This is the state of the art. As I said, where are you going? And seeing all that, what education do they need then? This is Agnieszka Bata, Magdalena Rojek, Krakow. The notes made on the 26th of June 2022, when I listened to this wonderful, inspiring lecture, powerful lecture, but confronting it with the state of the art, really. And there's the point of being race aware, and it's not only about the black people, it's about all peoples, and it's also about it's about the Earthians and possible extraterrestrial appearances, which most of us who have ever looked must have spotted by now. So in 2001, when I was writing my MA thesis, oh, by the way, this is the very MA thesis. Now I'm making revisions. See, notes. Just to make the point of it being really mine. And then when I was writing this MA thesis, the 11th of September happened, and I changed my life then to solve the problem of terrorism. My diagnosis of the identity being the key problem has been questioned through terrorism. So actually it's not the question of identity, it's the question of American terrorism. Perhaps it is, but I believe it is about the identity. I am the virgin, and I had every freedom to live my life. Agnieszka Bata, Magdalena Rojek. I was planning not to make any recordings in English. I wanted to switch to Russian, but it will take me some time, so perhaps this could remain here as a kind of I don't know, orientation point. Since, for years I was solving the problem of terrorism, and I know that the United States find it totally unacceptable to have anyone criticizing their superior wisdom and judgment. So this is more or less like this white teacher looking and saying, yep, I will teach you civilization. Find your missed lessons and deficient wisdom. Agnieszka Bata, Magdalena Rojek. I'll be preparing for a spiritual journey. Actually, I'm making my spiritual journey to Russia already, but I see how it all develops, and obviously I'm in the middle of the crime. I would like to get out of it, but it does not look probable. Oh, perhaps I should also make the point about the war once I'm here, because I do not buy the ideology pushed. I do not see any relations or any analysis of the Russian side of the conflict, which is, I mean, of what the Russians say actually. And I believe that it's quite probable that Putin is right in his judgment of the situation of the Russians living in the Ukraine. However, this is a local approach, and I believe that Putin wants the Russian Empire simply, and I see no reason why he should not like that. As for the criminality, the war crimes, they are atrocious, but I know what Zelensky represents, and I believe his criminality is far, far worse. I say it intuitively as a Pole. This is a mass media, new, modern terrorism, technological terrorism that has had no equal. Agnieszka Bata, Magdalena Rojek. Thank you for your attention.